Ladies and gents, welcome to the video. I'm GetGoodGuy, and this is Battlefield 5, and a fairly big day for the game actually, because these are the first really kind of specific details coming out for the 6.2 update, which apparently is supposed to be coming out next week. So what I'm going to do, I've not looked at these yet, I'm going to go through them with you, pick out the ones that I find interesting of course, and you'll get my genuine reaction to it. We'll discover what they are together. I'll give you my opinion as we go through and then summarize at the end whether I think these are the changes we need or not. You can tell me in the comments what you think of the update details and what else you hope for, what you're happy about, what you're disappointed in, and I'll also link to the patch notes in the description so you can read them all the way through if you want to, because like I say, I'll probably pick out the bits that are really interesting to me rather than just reading them all off to you, because that would be really boring. Alright, let me just interrupt myself here, because in this video I say patch notes 2, 3, 4 times, I don't know, and there aren't patch notes. Please don't go looking for patch notes. I just said it. These are just details about what's set to come, okay? Not official patch notes. Thank you. Alright, let's carry on. But before we start, a massive thank you to my latest patron, Somatic. Thank you, really appreciate it, mate. Very, very heroic of you. Yes, heroic. Give him some pats on the balls in the comments below. Thank you, I appreciate that. And so with that said, I'm going to kick this off with an extra piece of info. Well, I don't know if it's in these patch notes or not. I saw this separately on Twitter, so if it's in there, then we'll skip over it when we get there. But for now, they're updating the audio in the game with a new prioritization system to reduce the occurrence of important sounds being culled due to performance limitations, although that post was then updated to say that what was being referred to as the potential limiting factor is actually now irrelevant, or I don't know, it's all very unclear as usual. But regardless, it states that there will be more controlled and stable behavior for sounds such as vehicles, footsteps, and weapons. So if this does come with the updates, that would be huge. I'm sure a lot of people have been wanting that for a long time. They're also adding slightly more weight to most close-range weapon firing sounds, excluding SMGs and pistols. The difference will apparently be most prominent in stereo audio mode, and they'll add a new option in the audio menu to change the hit indicator sound between current original BF5 release and off. Why you'd have it off, I don't know, but maybe for immersion. But yeah, hopefully that helps with actually hearing important noises around you, and you won't just get snuck up on and run over and all that stuff like we currently are at the minute a lot of the time. I should add that the top of the tweet does say that part of this will be resolved in the 6.2 update, so I don't know if that means all of this is that part or only part of this will be that part. It's always very, very difficult when you're trying to go through updates for Battlefield, so we'll just have to wait and see. And now let's get to the rest of the details that I've got in front of me. Alright, so this document isn't anywhere near as long and detailed as I expected it would be, to be honest with you, so this won't be particularly long. It looks like, from what I'm gathering, they're going somewhere towards the 5.0 values for a lot of things. Let me find this section. What did we adjust? In the words of Jeff Braddock himself, update 6.0 returns the base damage at range values of most weapons to those of 5.0 while maintaining a drop in range damage that is smaller than 5.2 or 5.22. Essentially meaning a lot of weapons, if this is correct, will perform very similarly to how they did before all this TTK debacle, but with slightly less range damage. So kind of returning things back to the TTK of before with slight tweaks to it. I have some feelings about that, I'll go into it afterwards, but the example given here is that the FG42 in 5.0 killed in 4 to 6 bullets, then at 5.2/5.22 it was at 5 to 13 bullets, so an increase of 1 bullet for the minimum time to kill and an increase of 7 bullets for the maximum time to kill. Well, in 6.2 it's going to 4 to 7 bullet kills, so it will have the same lethality at closer ranges and then at long range require 1 bullet to kill more. To expand on that, and I'm going to paraphrase some of this, they'll continue to operate a damage model that ensures that weapons that are designed to be lethal in close quarters will still do less damage beyond 30 meters than experienced in 5.0, so the guns overall are still nerfed, they're still gimped compared to how they were before in the TTK that most people were happy with. However, they're making adjustments to the damage curves to ensure that the damage drop-off doesn't feel as instant or severe, so kinda less like you're using pea shooters at least closer ranges. Weapons that should be more effective at range, such as the semi-auto rifles and pistol carbines, will have their damage drop-offs extended, ensuring that they regain a purpose closer to their design and perform significantly better at range. Similar changes are also being made across MGs and ARs. So as I predicted a while back, it looks like the semi-auto rifle rifles will have a purpose again as long as they get their balancing right. So things are kind of going to fall back into having specific strong ranges, and not everything is going to just suck at super long range anymore. But of course it remains to be seen what the true balancing is. We don't get specific values here apart from for the FG42, so it may come out absolutely perfect, or they may have made a complete mess of it again. I can't say yet, but there's more. It looks like they're really trying to get rid of this thing at the minute where certain things just dominate the meta and a lot of other things aren't worth using. Something they brought on themselves with the TTK changes, of course. So range damage is now based on a weapon's class rather than rate of fire. For example, assault rifles and LMGs will hit harder at range than SMGs with the equivalent rate of fire, which is absolutely how it should be. So we won't just have SMGs dominating ARs, aside from the SDG, at ranges where really, perhaps the ARs should have an advantage. At the minute, as I've covered recently, people are using medic because they can at least compete at mid-range with SMGs whilst having infinite heals. So a lot of people felt like, well, why use assault? Even if you're getting a slight boost at that range, it's not enough to pass up getting those heals. Now also, recoil and accuracy values have been adjusted to be consistent with the values in 6.0. The only exception is the Type 2A, which has had a substantial increase in recoil to balance it within the SMG class. Now I hope they haven't just nerfed that into the ground without tweaking other things substantially, but the Type 2A will be getting, it looks like, heavily nerfed, so the Type 2A meta should be a thing of the past once this hits, and recoil overall will be returning, so not everything will be a laser beam anymore, and there will be a higher skill ceiling and a wider skill gap for the gunplay, but we don't know to what extent at the minute, because again, we don't have specific values. We'll have to wait for the patch notes for that. However, it's encouraging. Bolt action rifles now have higher muzzle velocities across the board. These weapons are Battlefield's longest range weapons and are outperformed by other weapons due to the bullet velocity. This adjustment will return bolt action rifles to be the kings of long and very long range combat. I have covered many times before how bolt action rifles, as annoying as they may be for some people, and as much as some people complain about them, they are underpowered statistically compared to the other weapons in the game. That was especially apparent with all weapons being laser beams. So with recoil coming back, and with their bullet velocity buffed, we'll have to see how powerful they now are. I still don't think they will be the ultimate choice for most players, but a skilled hand will be able to excel with them, even more so than before. But of course, there will be a disparity between PC and console. On PC, it's way easier to use a bolt action sniper. On console, it's still going to be a bit difficult, I would say. But regardless, if you're good with a bolt action rifle, you're probably about to be even better. And they've increased the Type 11 muzzle velocity slightly for both the default and high velocity bullets. This should help differentiate the Type 11 more from the Bren and make its range performance stand out. And the post then says, what does this all mean? The goal is to keep a high pace in close combat and to have a lower but satisfying pace at distance. We're excited to roll this out next week, and as always, we value your input and feedback, so reach out to us once you've tested out these changes when the update goes live by using our Battlefield 5 section on the forums, etc, all that kind of stuff. You know what to do. You can get some on Twitter, on Discord, all that kind of stuff. So that is encouraging on the face of it. There's a lot of stuff in there which looks like it will fix a lot of the problems we've got, but to stress, without the actual values, we can't put down a hard marker as to whether it's going to be great or terrible. It sounds like these are at least some of the changes we need, but weapon balance in this game is tricky and very tricky for DICE. Somewhat to do with things behind the scenes which I can't right now talk about, and I know you're tired of hearing that, but they have problems behind the scenes with weapon balancing, I promise you. So it remains to be seen how this will turn out and whether there will be future problems, but right now I'm encouraged at least. I should also say that they're going to be adding tweaks to gadgets and other weapons and vehicles and soldiers, maps and modes, sound, and improvements to stability and performance, as well as finally tank body customization, but I don't really get any details about that. I'm just mentioning that they're going to be part of this. Now, what was I thinking earlier when I said I had some thoughts? I am, as I said, encouraged by this, but it does trouble me a little bit, and this is why. So remember the first time the TTK was changed in 2018, and everyone said this is awful, change it back, and DICE eventually changed it back. This was just before Christmas, remember, where they clearly wanted an influx of new players, and they said, alright, we made a mistake, we won't do this again, we're listening to you, etc. And then they changed the TTK again more recently, as you know, and the general feedback again was, oh, this is really bad. That was just before Christmas when they clearly wanted an influx of new players, and a lot of the game was made much easier, by the way, such as the lower recoil, the snap block and aim assist, all of that. They then tweaked it, but they didn't put it back to exactly how people people wanted it. They maintained it for a while, and now that we're past all the Christmas period and we're into February, it sounds like we're going back to 5.0 values with a few tweaks, which is what a lot of people want, and that is a good thing, but I don't think that's a good look overall. It makes DICE look shady, and I'm sure you see the point I'm trying to make. However, if I try to put that aside for a minute, these are the kind of changes I was hoping to hear about, as long as they implement them well. I hope this spreads out the meta more so. I hope there'll be more options. I hope the top guns won't be quite as far ahead as the rest of the guns, as right now we have, and it wasn't as bad as this before. Even when other guns were the meta, the gap between them wasn't quite as stark. So I think that's what I have to say. It's already 7:30 p.m. here because these notes came out late for Europe. So yeah, that's what I've got. And that is my roundup of the first really clear-cut details for the 6.2 update coming soon, supposedly. Let me know in the comments what you think of all of it. If you enjoyed the video, leaving a like is always appreciated. It helps the channel to grow. Subscribe if you're new here. I've got loads of content coming out at the minute, and the notification bell is there to help you stay up to date. And all the links to my social media, including Patreon, can be found in the description and my pinned comment. Here is the Board of Awesome for the epic people who already support me on Patreon. They're all absolute heroes and love them all deeply and, of course, often. If you want to join them on the Board of Awesome, the link to the Patreon page is in the description and my pinned comment. And with that all said, I'm GetGoodGuy, and I'll see you next time. Laters. It's not been an attractive proposition to new players for a long time, making it ever more likely that a higher percentage of the player base left playing are going to be much more invested in Battlefield and therefore are often actually going to be good at the game. So if you used to be in some kind of unmeasurable top 20% for ability, let's say,